Very good evening. Today I'm going to discuss the topic string, which I have started in last class, and I've discussed few functions regarding string. So I start my discussion with the continuation of my last lecture regarding string. So in the last class we learned a function that is getCats. I hope you can remember what this function does. This function basically extracting more than one character at a time. To extract only one character, we use the function caret. When we are extracting more than one characters from a string, we use this function getCats. And the syntax is void getCats int source start source end. Third parameter is the name of the array where the extracted characters will be stored, that is the target. And the fourth parameter is target start. Sometimes it may be the case the extracted character will not be stored from index 0 in the target array. So in that case needs to mention the target start. That is the start index of the target array. Fine. And regarding source end, I must have to mention the substring contains the characters, whether it extracting the characters from source start through source end -1. So this much we have discussed in the last class, and after that one more function I discussed, that is getBytes. And like getCats, it returns array of bytes, and the character to byte conversion provided by the platform, that is done by the system itself. So it is similar to getChar function, but instead of returning characters, it returns the corresponding ASCII value of those characters in terms of bytes. Today we are going to learn many more functions regarding string. The first function of today's class is toChar array. What is this toChar array? It is basically converting a string to character array, and this will give you the same result. This will give you the same result that we got using getCats. So using getCats we can achieve the same result. Just what it does, it just transforming the strings to an character array. So that's why the function of toChar array is to convert all the characters in a string object into a character array. It returns an array of characters for the entire string. I hope nothing more to discuss for these functions, because we have to just call these functions to convert this in a character array. That's all. And the same result we have already got by using the method getCats. Next, there is a very important function, equals. This functions basically used equals and equals ignore case. These functions are basically used to comparing strings or substrings within string. There are several methods. Inside string class, there are several methods that compare strings or substrings within class, within strings. So first we are going to learn the method name, that is equals and equals ignore case. What is the equals method does? It basically compare two strings for equality. It returns a boolean value, either true or false, and it should be called by a string object. So str is a string object being compared with the invoking string object. So if I write str1 dot equals, try to understand, str1 dot equals within bracket str2, what it means? It means we are comparing str1 with str2. Definitely one of them should be invoked. In this case str1 is basically invoking the function equals, and it is comparing whether this string 2 str1 is equals to str2 or not. So as a parameter we need to pass and a string object, and ultimately the function equals returns a boolean value. If two strings are same, it contains the same characters in the same order, then it returns true, false otherwise, and the comparison is case sensitive. Fine. So equals method takes a parameter which is basically a string object, and definitely another string object will call this method equals. It is basically comparing two strings. The function returns true when if both the strings contain the same characters in same order, otherwise it will return false, and the comparison is case sensitive. Definitely, hopefully you can understand what is the meaning of this second method, that is equals ignore case. Comparison done in this case when we are invoking this function equals ignore case, comparison is being done between two strings, but it is not case sensitive method. So that's why the name of the method is equals ignore case. It's basically ignoring the case sensitivity. So that's why if the content of the two strings is same and they are in, if the characters are in the same order, if in both the strings, so the function will return true. Similar to the equals function, it also return true or false, but this function is not case sensitive. If the set of characters is same with the str1 and str2 and their order is same, whether they are in the capital letter or small letter, it will not be matter for this function. This function equals ignore case will return back true, otherwise false. So that's why it is written here str is a string object being compared with the invoking string object, same to equals method. It too returns true if the string contains the same character in same order, and false otherwise. Only the difference between equals and this method is it considers capital A to capital Z to be same with small a to small z, because sorry, because this function is not at all case sensitive. Showing you an example so that will be clear to you. Yes, look, first string it is s1, s2, both are consisting same string value, hello and hello. S3 is goodbye, S4 is hello, but S1, S2 hello and S4 hello is not same regarding with respect to case sensitivity, S4 is not same with S1 and S2. S1 and S2 both are same regarding case sensitivity. So when I am calling equals method with for S2, S1 is calling equals method, parameter is S2. What it will return? True. S1 S1 dot equals S3. S1 dot equals S3. What it will return? S1 is hello, S3 is goodbye. So definitely false. And S1 equals S4. S1 equals S4 also return false. Why? Because the case are not same for these two cases. Both consist hello, but the case S4 is all in capital letter, but S1 H is in capital and the rest are small letters. So that's why S1 is four cases are not same, as because equals method is case sensitive, so it returns false. But the last line, when I am in the line number 11, when I am showing S1 dot equals ignore case, so that means I'm calling the method equals ignore case. It is invoked by S1. As a parameter I have passed S4. S1 and S4 both have stored the string hello, but their case is not same. Here we are calling equals ignore case. Equals ignore case is not considering the case, whether it is in uppercase, whether it is in lowercase. It doesn't matter for this function. So line number 11 must returns back you true. So first one is true, second one is S1 S3 is false, S1 S4 false, S1 equals ignore case, S4 it's again true. Executing the file gives the output, yes, first one is true, second one is false, third one false, fourth one is again true. So I hope you understand what is the meaning of this equals method. Okay, moving back to the slide. Moving back to the slide again. Fine. Just a minute. Fine. So equals ignore case we have discussed. Next, region matches. Region matches is a type of function or rather method which basically compares a specific region inside a string with another specific region in another string. This is an overloaded form that allows you to ignore case in such comparisons. Fine. Here are the general forms for these two methods. Both are region matches, but the parameter list, both are region matches, but the parameter list is not same. Try to understand this. That's why it is mentioned as a overloaded method. Just a minute, using a pen so that will be easier to you for understand, or rather highlight. Just a minute. Get synced. Okay, so I hope now it's visible to you. Region matches. Both the functions name are same, but the list of parameters are not same. Try to understand. What it does basically? It does it basically compares a specific region inside a string with another specific region of other string. That it is doing basically. To make it case sensitive, by default region match is case sensitive. And if you want to ignore case, in that if you want to make it ignore case, so you have to call the second one. Why second one? Because one parameter it takes, which is boolean, and that is ignore case. If you set it true, that means it will ignoring the case sensitivity. What is the remaining parameters? The remaining parameters are same in both these two cases. Look, int start index and start index, string str2, string str2, int str2 start index, int str2 start index, and int num of cats, int num of cats. Try to understand the meaning of these parameters. Start index of string 1. Start index specifies the index at which the region begins within the invoking string object. Start index of invoking string object. Regions begins of the invoking string object. Second parameter is, for the first method, second parameter is string 2 itself. Name of the string being compared with the specific, compared is specified by str2. Fine. Third parameter is str2 start index, that is the string region started from the string regions at which the index at which the comparison will start within str2 is specified by str2 start index. Fine. And lastly, the number of characters, the length of the substring being compared is passed in number of characters. And for the second version, if the ignore case is true, the case of the character is ignored, otherwise it is case significant. By default it is case significant. To make it insignificant, case insignificant, you have to pass one more parameters, and that is the first parameter. You have to set the first parameter value as true, because it is boolean ignore case. So I hope you understand about the function region matches, which is basically comparing a specific region inside a string with another specific region. So str1 is the invoked string, is calling region matches. If you want to make it case insignificant, rather ignoring the cases, then the first parameter will be true, otherwise nothing to pass as the first parameter. Second parameter is the start index of str1, from which region str1 starts its matching. Sorry, that is not the, yes, yes. For the second method, that is the second parameter, but in case of first method, that is the first parameter. That's because this first case is the case, but first region matches method is not case insignificant, it is case significant. So that's why in case of first region matches call, first parameter is starting index of the string 1, but in case of second one, this is the second parameter, that is the starting index of string 1. Then starting index of string 2, both the methods, both the signatures you have to pass starting index of string 2. No, that is the fourth parameter in case of 2, and that is the third parameter in case of 1. So what is the second parameter? In case of 1, it is string 2, the name of the string 2, to whom we will compare. And in case of second case, that is the third parameter, string str2, name of the string to whom we will compare. Fine. Third parameter gone, fourth parameter already mentioned, and fifth parameter is starting in rather name of the characters, character number, how many characters I will compare in string, because in both the cases string 1, string 2, I have given the number, rather I have passed the start index for string 1 and as well as string 2, but I haven't mentioned how many number of characters we will compare, because here we are basically comparing a region, not the entire string. So that's why I need to pass the fifth parameter, which actually says number of characters. Fourth parameter in the first case and fifth parameter in the second case. I hope you understood this region matches method. Next, string comparison method starts with and ends with. Starts with method determines whether a given string begins with a specified string or not. Conversely, ends with determines whether the string in question ends with a specified string or not. They have the following general form. Both the functions are taking string as a parameters. If I write str1 dot starts with str1 dot starts with str2 within bracket str2, that means the function starts with will return true if str1 starts with the string which is stored inside str2. Similarly, str1 will return true str1 ends with function return true if str1 ends with the string which is stored inside str2. So str is the string being tested. If the string is matched, true will be returned, otherwise it will return false. So str is the string which will pass as a parameter. It will basically test it whether the invoking string starts with or ends with str or not. The second form of starts with is string str. As earlier, it is taking the first parameter as string str, but second parameter is also taking one more, that is the starting index of the invoking string. Starting index of the invoking string. Fine. So that means if it is not mentioned, it checks from the index 0. When it mentioned, then it will start from the specified index, because start index has been provided as a parameter of as the second parameter of starts with function. I hope you understood this one. So these are the two very important functions, that is starts with and ends with. String comparison function, whether the string starts with a specified string or ends with a specified string. We can test it by calling these two methods. Next, we just, before 2-3 slides, we just learned about the equals method. What it returns? It returns true or false if two strings are equals, means the set of characters and their order are same in both the cases. Then we can say yes, this method returns true. And if it is not case sensitive, then we need to call the method equals ignore case. Now the very important question comes. It's a very important question for exam also. What is the difference between the method equals and this relational operator equals? What is the difference between this two? It is important to understand that the equals method and the relational equals operator perform two different operations. We know what is equals method does. It compares the character inside a string object. Yes. And what this double equal to, that is a relational operator, what it does, this operator basically compares two object references to see whether they are referring to the same instance or not. When I am using this double equals over here, then it will just comparing the two object reference, whether the two object reference are pointing to the same instance or not. If they return the same instance, then the operator will return true, otherwise it will return false. So the working flow, rather working principle of these two, one is method, another one is operator, they are not same at all. And through an example, we'll justify this later on, just after discussion of this next slide. So equals method and double equal to relation operators are not same. They have used in different purposes. The method compared to, what is this? What this method does? A string is less than another. When we are use this compared to methods, we are basically comparing two strings, right? Comparing two strings means what? The very natural question. Comparing two integer, yes, one is greater than, one is lesser than. Comparing two integer, yes, the two integers are equal. That we can say. But when we are comparing two strings, what is the meaning of this? Is there any less than greater than relation? Yes, there is a less than greater than relation. What is the meaning of this less than greater than relation? A string is less than another if it comes before the other in dictionary order. Try to understand. Capital A, small a, capital B, or say small b. Capital A, small b, one string. Another string is, consider, you may, capital A, small c, small d. Which one is smaller, which one is larger? Definitely the second one is larger. Definitely the second one is larger and the first one is smaller. Because what is the reason? Because according, if you see it in a dictionary order, A, small a, then B. Definitely this string will come first, then A, capital B or capital C, what we consider, I forget. It comes before, it comes later. Second one comes later. So the string in dictionary order which comes first is lesser or smaller than the other. That is the concept. So a string is greater than another if it comes after the other in dictionary order. This method compare to is basically serves this purpose. It actually returns an integer. It basically comparing two strings. If it returns 0, two strings are equal. Try to understand. str1 dot compare to. Try to note it down. Note it down the uh, spelling of compare to, because the name of the method is case sensitive also. C capital but T is C small but T is capital. And the earlier method that we discussed, you must note it down their syntax, rather their naming convention, because these methods are already defined and you cannot change the name of the method. If you change the case, that also it is representing the different methods which will not work, which will not execute. So here compare to is such a type of method which is basically comparing two strings. If it returns 0, that means what, both the strings are the same. If it returns greater than 0, that means the invoking string is greater than str. Str is the string that we have passed as a parameter. Another string is invoking the compare to functions. So if it is greater than 0, that means invoking string is greater than str. And if it is less than 0, that means invoking string is less than str. So in less than str means in dictionary order invoking strings will be first, then the passed parameter, that is str. If it is greater than 1, that means invoking string will be later than the passed parameter str. So try to understand. We are moving back to an example to justify these methods, rather to show to implementation of these methods that I discussed. One is compared to, and the previous one, that is the difference between the equals and double equals. Yes, I hope the screen is visible to you. Look, this is the difference between equals and double equals. S1 dot equals S2. What is S1 and S2? S1 and S2 basically consisting the same string, that is hello. Look, S1 consists the string hello. Similarly, S2 is created based on the constructor call. We have passed S1 as a parameter of that constructor. So that means S2 also consists hello. When S1 dot equals S2, S1 dot equals S2, definitely it will return true, because this consists hello, S1 consists hello. Similarly, S2 consists hello, and the character set and their case all are same, and this equals method is case sensitive. So it will return true only the set of characters, order of characters, and their cases are same. So definitely s1 dot equals s2 will return true. What about the next call? S1 equal to S2. Will it return true or false? Definitely it will return false. Why? Because the reference S1 and reference S2 are pointing to different object. S1 and S2 are basically pointing to different object. So their reference are not pointing to the same object, so reference value is not equal. So that's why S1 equals to S2 will return us false. Trying to execute the program, look, the first output hello equals hello. When I'm calling the method equals, that is true. When I'm calling the operator equals, that is false, because the reference s1 s2 is not same. They are basically pointing to different objects. So equals method and relational operator double equal to, they are not same. They are work in different manner. So it is proved through this example. Next, compare to, we have just learned. We just learned the method compare to. So this is basically because used as a program of a bubble sort, the compare to method. So what we'll do normally in the bubble sort, we'll just uh, comparing the adjacent elements. Here we have taken a static string. We know what is the meaning of this static keyword. The meaning of static keyword is when it is used with a variable. Definitely it's an array variable. So a single memory will be allocated for n number of objects. If we create n objects, for all n objects, the variable will be created only once. It will not create it for n times. That we already discussed in the lecture static, which already uploaded. Forget about those. So now we are using the compare to do the bubble sort. What actually bubble sort, what is the algorithm of bubble sort does? The bubble sort basically compares two adjacent elements. If aj is greater than aj plus 1, sorry, yes, if aj is greater than aj plus 1, then we have to make it swap, right? So when I'm comparing two strings, in case of integer comparison it is possible, but when I'm comparing two strings, we have to call the compare to functions. Okay, so we are just changed our data set, input data set, so that will be more understandable to you. Thing is that it's a bubble sort. What we have done here, we have considered a static array. What are the array elements? That is B, A, D, E, C. These are the array elements. Fine. So try to remember the bubble sort that I already discussed with you with the integer elements. Normally in the bubble sort, what we have done, we just compare two adjacent elements. If ARR-J is greater than ARR-J plus 1, then we have just make it swap. So in similar way, here we have taken 5 string BADEC, fine, and this is the outer loop, because we know what we know. If the number of array elements is, if the number of array element is n, the worst case the outer loop requires n minus 1 time to iterate. Fine. So that's why I am iterating this from 0 to arr dot length minus 1. And the inner loop that we all know, it will iterate from 0 to less than n minus I minus 1. Here n is arr dot length. For the integer array, we have done this. Only the new thing that we have introduced over here, that is the calling of compared to function. Because when we have used the integer comparison, we have just check it using the greater than operator, rather greater than relational operator. But when we are comparing two strings, it is not possible to compare. Compare to function is basically doing that thing. It returns 0 if the two strings are same. It returns 1 if the invoking string is not 1, it is greater than 1. If the invoking string is greater than the parameter string. Here the parameter string is arrj plus 1. That means this one greater means dictionarytically arrj must come after arrj plus 1 in dictionary order. So that's why we need to make it swap, and that's why we have a swap operation done. This is the basically output of each and every iterations I printed, and this is the final output. So let me check. Yes, this is coming fine. This is the output. Each and every iteration output I have printed A, B, C, D, E, A, B, D, C, E, first one. The next iteration D gets his position, next iteration C gets his position, next iteration B gets his position, and finally we got the answer. So this is the bubble sort technique of bubble sort used to come sorting an input string. And the thing is that here compared to method is used to comparing two strings, which one is greater and which one is lesser. Coming back to our slide. Next method, this method we have just discussed. Next method, it's a searching strings. Searching string, we are basically, this method actually, the string class provides two methods that allow you to search a string for a specified character or substring. It is basically searching a string inside another string. And these are the two methods which are defined inside string class. The first method that I am going to discuss is index of, and the second method is the last index of. Index of searches for the first occurrence of a character or substring, and last index of is basically searches the last occurrence of a character or substring. Fine. These two methods are overloaded in several different ways. In all cases, the method returns the index at which the character or substring was found, and in case of failure, it will return -1. So this is the index of the syntax of the index of method. First one, this is for index of when I am searching a particular character. Here, this case last index of, it is in last index of what it does, last occurrence of a character of the substring. last occurrence of a character of substring, character or substring. Fine. So these two methods is used for searching a character or substring from a given string. So this is the syntax overloaded methods. This is the syntax of index of when we are passing a character. This is the syntax of index of when we are passing a string. Similarly, this is the uh, syntax of last index of when we are using a character as a parameter, and this is the syntax of last index of when we are passing a string as a parameter. Fine. And both these two cases, rather all the cases, in case of character searching or string searching, all these cases, it returns what? An integer value. What is the meaning of that integer? That is the index number where it occurs. And if it is not found, then it returns -1. Fine. So going back to an example. Look, this is the string that we have considered here. Now is the time for all good men to come to the aid of their country. Fine. So first one is index of t. This is my S. Concatenation operator use, that means entire becomes strings. If you print S, it will give you now is the time for all good men. Let me execute the program so that it will be more understandable to you. Fine. Now we will justify each and every output. Index of t. Its index of t means first occurrence of t in the string. Which is the first occurrence of t? This one. What is the index of it? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Look, index of t comes 7. Last index of t, small t. This one, probably this one. So last index of t is actually 65. That is last occurrence of t in the string. This one, 65. Index of d, that means this one. Again the index, that is 7. Last index of d, that is 55. Right? Look, another overloaded method of index of and last index of. What I have first here, I have first the index from where it starts its searching. I have first these two index of function and last index of function. First cases we have first character. Second cases we have first string. This is overloaded function, index of and last index of. Along with character and string, we are passing another integer. That integer is basically saying us from where, from which index the search will start. So look, index of t from index 10. So where 10 starts? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is my 10. So first index of t, it will be 11. Look, because the next 11th index is t. Similarly, last index 60. So actually last index starts searching from this side, not from this side. So 60 means this one is 65 basically, 66, 67, right? So from 60 it starts its execution. Root 67, 66, 65, 64, fine, 65, sorry, 67, 66, 65, 64, 63, 62, 61, 60. So it starts execution from here. If it is 60, it is how much? It is 59. How much? 58. How much? 57. How much? 56. This T, it will be 55. Look, the answer comes 55. Then the index of D, starting index is 10. So starts execution from here. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Starting from here. Where D comes? Here. This is the first occurrence of D when I am start searching from index 10, not from beginning. So that result comes 44. Similarly, last index of the, it's starting from 60. 60 is here, that we already checked. So this is the D. D is coming. It is 67. Na? So D is coming 55. This one. So I hope you understood how last index of works and how only index of works. These are basically overloaded methods. Index of character, only taking character. Instead of character, sometimes it is taking string, and sometimes it is taking uh, character along with an integer. Then that integer is basically uh, guided us, or rather guide the function from where it starts searching for a given character or string. It will not search from the beginning, or not search from the last. So these are the overloaded index of last index of methods. Okay, so moving to our slide again. Yes, that I haven't discussed. Starting point of the search can be specified using these forms. In the example, we have discussed these things. Look, int start index, int start index. One more parameter here first. Start index specifies the index at which point the search begins. For index of the search runs from start index to end of the string, and for the last index of function, the search runs from the start index to 0. That I already explained in the example, that the searching direction in case of uh, index of and the last index of is in opposite direction. In case of index of, it starts searching from left and moving to the right, and in case of last index of, it starts searching from the last index and moving to the beginning. Hope this is clear to you. Next, we can modify a string. We can modify a string. Thing is that modify string object that we have created are immutable. Immutable means you cannot modify it. Whenever you want to modify a string, you must either copy it into string buffer or string builder, or you have to use one of the following string methods which will construct a new copy of the string with your modification complete. That is a very important point. You cannot modify a string object because the string object is immutable. The string object is immutable. That's why later on, after discussing these functions, we will move to another class which is string buffer class. In string buffer class, we can rather mute that in the string buffer class, we can consider the mutable strings. We can modify, we can work with the mutable strings. But in case of string class, string objects are immutable. That is a very important point. So if you want to modify it, it uses one of the following methods like substrings. The method that we are using first is a substring, but which will construct a new copy of string with your modifications complete. Fine. That will create a new copy. Try to understand this thing. Fine. So what is this substring function does? A substring is can be extracted using substring method. It has two forms. That is the first one, only string substring in start index, and the second form is string substring in start index int ant index. Fine. So start index, when it's only start index specified, start index actually means from where the substring will begin, and this returns a copy of substring that begins at start index and runs to the end of invoking string, and it runs to the end of invoking string. And the second form of substring is it allows you to specify both beginning and ending index of the substring. But the thing is that when it is extracting, rather when it is creating substring, the string returned, better to say, the string returned, the string which it returns, this method, contains all the character from beginning index up to, but not including the ending index. That means up to end index minus 1, better to say. From start index up to end index minus 1. When you write only start index, so the substring begins at start index and runs up to end of the invoking string. That's fine. But in the second case, when you are providing both indexes, that is start index as well as end index, it starts from start index, but the returned strings, the returned string consisting only from start index to up to end index minus 1, excluding ending index, better to say. This is for the purpose of concatenation. Concatenate to string using concatenation operator. We have already shown the concatenation operator earlier, that is class, but we have one more function that is concat. So if I write, say, string s1 is there, s1 consists the string 1, s2, if I write s2 equal to s1 dot concat 2, that means 1 concatenated with 2, and it will return into another string, because string object is, again I am telling, string object is immutable. This will gives you the same result. It is equivalent code, 1 s1 plus 2, s1 plus 2. Replace method. Replace method has two forms. Definitely the method will replace some character or some character sequences look like this: string replace, char original, char replacement. Definitely some string object will call this method replace. So here hello explicitly calling the method replace, and it is mentioning what it is: char original character, and this one is a replacement character. So all ll gets replaced by ww, all l will get replaced by w, so ll gets replaced ww. That's why the result comes hewwo. Try to understand. Fine. This is the one approach of only replacing a particular character. And second form of the replace method, it is basically replacing one character sequence with other, a sequence of characters with other. Fine. Sequence of characters with other. So let me give some example, show you an example of using this method substring. What substring does, basically generates a string, right now generates a string. Sometimes start index is given, sometimes start index, end index, both is given. So try to understand this code. This is a test, this is 2, that is my input org. I'm searching yes is, I'm searching is, sub is was, result initially empty. Fine. So what I'm doing, I'm printing org. That means initially this one, this is the test, this is 2. Let me first execute the program. Fine. So initially it prints org. Which one is org? This is a test, this is 2. So it is coming in the first line. Then it says I equal to org index of search. So what it is searching? It is searching is, because inside search we have a string is, index of, that actually returns us the first occurrence of is in the string org. Fine. Definitely is there, so that's why it will not return -1. It will return -1 when this search string is not found. Search string is not found in the given string, rather in org. Invoking string, not in given string, in the invoking string. If the search is not found in the invoking string, then it will return -1. Otherwise, it will return some index value. So definitely it will return the index value of is, and what it does, org.substring 0 to I, that is up to index is, that is the look. What is the index of is? 0 1 2. If you look at it, the index will be 0 1 2, because at the index 2 I got is. Fine. Then what I'm doing, result equal to result plus sub. What is my sub? That is was. What is my result? The result is how much? How much? What is the result? Result is th only. because result consists the substring from 0 to I. I know I means that is I minus 1. So what is your I value? 0, 1, 2, because I is the index of occurrence of first is. I is the index of occurrence of first is. Nice. So index of first, sorry, the index, right? The index of first occurrence of is 2. So I am extracting substring from 0 to 2 means 0 to 1, because if you put it n, rather end, so substring will be generated up to from start index to n minus 1. So 0 to 1, th will be your output of this result. Th plus sub, your sub is was. So th was, fine. Then finally your result is result plus. Initially result was empty. In this line your result become th was plus word g substring, word g substring I plus search dot length. What is the search? That is length of search, that is 2. What is the length of search? It is 2, because inside search we have only the string is and the length of search is 2. What is my I? The I is also how much? The I is also 0, 1, 2. So 2 plus 2, it is actually 4, right? So the rest part of the string 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 from this space up to end, because end index I haven't specified over here in the method substring, so that's why it will give us from space to up to end. From space to up to end means from space to 2, org equal to result. Now this string will be inside, stored inside result, while I not equal to 1, while I not equal to 1, fine. Again what I am doing, do system.out.println org, so that's why this org got printed. Now we have to again find is from second line. Look, from the second line I am looking for is. So this is the is, right? And this will be replaced by was in this manner. The manner just I have explained for this line. This thing gets repeated, and this program is basically what this program does. This program is basically doing the replacing the is by was, but I am doing this without using, rather without calling the replace function, just only using the method substring. So this is a very good example of using the substring method, how it works. Hopefully it is clear to you. Again, moving back to the slide. So replace function we discussed. Now we are coming back to the concat function discussed, sub, substring discussed. Now we are moving to the trim function. What it does? The trim method returns a copy of invoking string from which any leading and trailing white spaces has been removed. The trim method returns a copy of invoking string from which any leading and trailing white spaces, if there are any spaces before or after the string, it will be removed by calling the trim function. So look, this is a string hello world. I'm calling trim function on it. So if there is any trailing white spaces or leading white spaces is there, it gets removed. That is the function of That is the use of trim function. Yes, next we are coming to the function, that is value of. Try to understand what it does. The value of method converts data from its internal format into human readable form. It is a static method that is overloaded within string for all of Java's built-in types, so that each type can be converted properly into string. Value of is also overloaded for type object. So an object of any class type you create can also be used as an argument. Recall that object is the superclass for all classes, and the few type signature of this value of method is given. So what this value of method does, convert data from its internal format to human readable format. Try to understand. And look, this is the static method, that's why the type signature says static, and it is basically returns a string. Look, the return type of the function is string, and the parameter is can be any type of. Look, it's a num, it's a double, it's a long, it's a object type of. Though I haven't used any object type of data, later on when we'll discuss about the wrapper class, we must discuss about the object type of. And one important thing that I mentioned earlier also, that is the object is a class which is basically superclass of all the classes. So any type of object, if we passed as a parameter of a value of which is not understandable by the human body, or rather it is not a human readable form, it will be converted to string, and then the definitely if the string is output of this function, then it should be understandable by the human body. So value of is a function, it's a method which basically converts its internal format into human readable form. Basically it returns a string. Any type of data you may pass as a parameter, as a result you will get a string. That is the task of a value of method. Sometimes it is not a readable format to the human. Some data we are passing as a parameter to the value of function is not a human understandable format, but after returning back the value of methods, after the value of method returns the result, definitely it is understandable format because it returns string. That's all. Hopefully you understood this matter. A very simple method, two method, one is two lowercase, another one is two uppercase. It is basically changing the cases. If the string is in lowercase, it returns two lowercase is returns you a string which consisting all the letters in lowercase. If some letters in upper, some letter in lower, all comes to lower. If you call it two lowercase method, note it down the signature: two, to small, t small, l capital, and c capital. And then in the same manner you have to call the methods. Otherwise it will not work, because these all are the defined methods to the string. So two lowercase is basically converts all the characters in string from uppercase to lowercase, and the reverse for the two uppercase method, which basically converts all characters in string from lowercase to uppercase. The characters which are non-alphabetical characters in a string, such as digits, those remain unaffected. Fine. So both methods returning a string object that contains the uppercase and lowercase equivalent of the invoking string. So before coming to the next topic, that is our string buffer class, let me show an example regarding this two lowercase and uppercase method. Look, my considered string is, this is the test. This is the test, this is my original string. When I am calling two uppercase, it, this function, or rather this method, will return as a string that I stored inside upper variable. It's a string reference. String object it returns. Two uppercase is returns a string object which I stored inside a reference upper. Two lowercase will return a string object which I stored inside a lower. And next what I have done, we have just printed this too. So for the first case, all the letter will be in lowercase. Sorry, all the letter will be in uppercase. For the second one, all the letter will be in lowercase of the given string s. Let me execute the program. Look, hopefully this much is clear to you.